All right, prime time. Alex Stein, welcome to Grimerica. How are you?
It's a pleasure. We've been trying to do this for years, it feels like,
Yeah.
but we finally made it happen. But what happened? Why did the Grimerica Twitter account get kicked off Twitter? I thought free speech is allowed on there now.
Well, so did I, but we got, and funny enough, it was Elon's Twitter both times. The first time, it was kind of easy to say. We got caught up in the old algo. I got suspended for telling a local politician, not local, like provincial, so it'd be like state for you. So a state opposition leader that she had some tweet about vaccine boosters, and I was like, yeah, just keep getting your boosters until you stroke out. Or I don't even think
And
I don't think I even said
no,
getting your boosters. I think like the actual tweet that we pulled it up on the show a couple weeks ago. It was just until you stroke out. Because he's like, I'm gonna keep getting boosters as long as they're coming. And I'm like, until you stroke out. And boom, we got suspended permanently December 1st, 2022. And I've just been like, for a long time, I was like trying to appeal because Elon took over like right then, and then he kept saying he was going to reinstate people, and other people were getting reinstated. So I kept trying, and then I got kind of disillusioned with the whole thing. So it's just like once a month, and you got the AIs getting pretty good now. So I'm asking it to, because I'm stuck in some AI thing most of the time. Where
yeah, you're not talking to a human. Yeah, you're
no,
talking to some. Yeah,
AI response. So I'm like putting my AI up against their AI, trying to just get through to a
what were
human.
you using ChatGPT to write your response? Yes, that's
Yeah.
probably smart. So the machines can speak to each other and
Yeah,
understand.
and I
Yeah.
tell the chat GPT exactly what I'm trying to do, right? I'm trying to get past the Twitter AI. How can I? It's like all up for it. So it's like bam, bam, bam. And
And it worked.
and it
It
worked. All of
worked.
a
So it
sudden,
did
like,
work.
out of the blue, I'm lying in bed with my wife one night, and I look at my email, and it's like, we made a mistake. Your account's restored. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I text Graham, and everything's great. And they're like, okay, but if you want to come back on, you got to delete this tweet. So I go, and it's the until you get boosted tweet.
Yeah.
So
Until you stroke out tweet.
until you
Until you
stroke
stroke
out.
out.
Until
Yeah.
you stroke out. So I delete the tweet, and they let me back on Twitter. And I'm like, this is great. I start making new connections. I start trying to book shows with people that I couldn't get in touch with.
Mhm.
And 5 days later, out of the blue, boom, they're like, you're out of here again. And now the first time it was abusive behavior,
Uh-huh.
and this time they say it's violent speech. And but they haven't provided any. So usually there'd be like, it was this tweet, this is what we got you for, but there's nothing. And when I ask them to provide something, there's just like, I'm back into the automated responses.
And
So,
you were careful, like you weren't going crazy on there. You just retweeted some people. Like he was very tame for
Yeah.
days. So
I think it's
all
past stuff, though. You must have had past stuff. Do you think anybody ever went on a campaign and reported
Oh,
a bunch of
it
tweets?
says it was from a user generated report.
Yes, it was probably an old report, and then it just for whatever reason it popped up later, or maybe it was a recent report, but it got reported. That's exactly why.
Yeah.
Wow,
So,
people
so
suck. People,
so
can
no-
you imagine that with like people going on there and reporting tweets? And I get it, there are people that hate me. I'm sure there's people that don't like you, this and that. But it's like to go get somebody's account shut down. That's just it's a low of the low. Even the people that hate me, I don't even want their accounts to be shut down. I mean that. I'm not saying that just a virtue signal. I do mean that. I don't like it when even when people that make videos about me that I don't like. I know people that have done that and then their channels got taken down because they're already on ban evasion or something. And people message me like, "Aren't you so happy?" And I'm not virtue signaling. I'm like, no, because my channel could very easily get taken down next. So it's not, I'd rather just everybody get to play and me not have to worry about getting taken down. Or if I see somebody get taken down, then it makes it more likely that I'm going to get taken down. So it just sucks that they can just shut us down like that.
Oh, and you've been getting lots of hate, I'm sure, with you, getting into some of your viral political stuff. I mean,
I get a lot of hate, and I get a lot of hate from the right too. I get a hate from the conspiracy theorists. I get hate from the right, hate from the left. I do get some love too. I'm not trying to sit here. I'm not a victim. I'm not complaining, but yes, dude. But what I've noticed is like when I was kind of starting out and making the content and kind of doing the trolling stuff, it was all the left. And then I noticed once I got, I guess, more well-known or a bigger account, then like all of a sudden people on the right, they kind of go after you, whether they're trying to, maybe they're smaller, maybe they're bigger, but they're just kind of doing it for content engagement, content farming, whatever you want to call it.
Is that what it is, you think? Yeah, they're not.
Well, I think kind of. I think there's people that maybe they have issues, but they do tweet at you and stuff because they want to get engagement. Like I would do that with bigger accounts when I was a smaller account. You kind of want to piss somebody off and then start the conversation. Other people see it, retweet it. And no, I do think that that's what people want. They want your attention, and they know that if you have a bigger account, in that example, they're going to be happy because they'll get more followers. And if they have a bigger account than you, then I guess they just kind of want to ratio you, make you look bad. But it's a weird place. Twitter, the internet, they say ignorance is bliss. Then the internet should be a happy place because everybody's ignorant as fuck. Nobody gives a fuck about anybody. It's just, it's very annoying sometimes. And I'm not complaining, but like YouTube and just some of the comments, have you noticed that it's very low vibrational? People that are having a bad day like to talk shit. And if that makes people feel better, I'm okay with that. But I just noticed a lot of hate on the internet.
Especially Twitter. I feel like Twitter is like, because I've been off Twitter for a long time. So I do have like my other Twitter account, my Atlas Shrugs.
Yeah, you gotta have a burner or a regular account.
Yeah, my burner account that I poke around with. And I tell this to Graham all the time because I always have to switch this button because I'm following all these people, right? But Twitter always wants to, like, every time I log in or every couple days, it switches me back from my followed list to this For You list.
Mm-hmm.
And the For You list seems like especially curated to piss me off. It's like, what can we get Darren riled up about today? Here's a bunch of leftists. Here's what Trudeau's saying. Here's what Nancy. And I'm like, I'm not following these people. Why are you? But it's like, I just feel like the Twitter algo is primed for arguing. It's like thriving off of arguing.
Yeah, because I'll see other people have public Twitter beefs and it gets suggested to me, but it's not like the person that I'm following, it's a person that they're fighting with, that gets suggested that I'm not following. So that For You is weird. I mean, like what little control X has over the algorithm, which they probably have a lot, but it's weird how I do believe that they can like basically radicalize somebody through their algorithm, through what they see on Facebook and Instagram. You can like change a person and brainwash a person just by what you show them on their cell phone.
Oh, they're probably doing it all the time.
Of course. But I'm saying like, these school shooters and stuff, they probably have like a targeted thing. How the FBI is always on their list. They always say that, oh, he was on our list, but we just didn't do our due diligence. We couldn't stop him. And those people are probably getting all kinds of weird curated stuff to make them schizophrenic or whatever it is that causes them to go shoot up a school.
Yeah, it's like the 6-week cycle.
What's the 6-week cycle? What is that?
The 6-week cycle is this theory that the FBI or whoever, the intelligence agencies, or the FBI specifically, because they're like inside the border. They need to radicalize these guys and like set them off, and they prime them up. And a lot of times, you can take it even further, and half the time you find out that these guys like helped them get the guns, or like basically dropped the kid off at the fucking movie theater before he shot the place up. And it's like, well, what are they doing? And it's like, if you, the no agenda guys have found this cycle where it's like every 6 weeks, this shit's going on. And it's like, well, and apparently it's not while Trump was in office. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's this cycle that the FBI is basically causing this stuff or doing it, them false flagging it to justify its own existence and budget.
The 100%. It's kind of like what the military does. When we fought, ISIS, the Taliban, we created the Mujahideen. Osama bin Laden was a CIA asset, and that you can watch a Hollywood movie starring Tom Hanks called Charlie Wilson's War, about how he funded a covert mission to fund Afghani rebels, the Mujahideen, which is what they became, to fight Russia. And they did well against Russia. They took down a bunch of Russia's, their version of a Black Hawk helicopter. I forget what it's called. But I'm saying, these guys are like goat farmers, live in the dirt, literally, and they gave them some guns and some training. They were able to protect their land. And then 9/11 happens, there's towers that had irreparable asbestos, and Tower 7 go down. And then we just go there and we end up fighting them in a war with guns that we gave them originally. So it's like they have to problem reaction solution, right? They have to have it. They want to have war. They know how to give us reasons to react. They give us a problem, and now we're okay with, killing random people. We create our own enemy. It's weird.
So where were you on 9? Like, how old were you on 9/11?
Well, I'm very passionate about 9/11 because I was a freshman. So I was 14, or maybe I was 13. It was September, so I think I was 13, about to become 14. Or are you 14 your freshman year? Okay, so I was 14, about to turn 15. And I do remember my teacher coming in and being like, kind of, shooken up a little, and kind of like, yeah, a plane hit the towers, but she hadn't seen it yet. This is the first period of our class. I think it happened at 9:20 or something like that in New York. So that was like 8 in Dallas. And I just remember my teacher being like, oh, a plane hit the building. And in my mind, I thought it's like a prop plane, or something like that. My cat's going crazy. So I thought it'd be just like a regular, like I thought like, oh, it's just some, dumbass pilot, trying to do a sightseeing tour or something, and then flew into it. And then come to find out it was much worse. And the second plane hits the second tower. And that's when my dad took me out of school. And I just remember I'd never seen my dad cry, really. Like maybe I'd seen him cry, like, a little bit, but I'd never like really remembered him crying. And he cried. He was like, Alex, I was like, what's going on? And he's like, I don't know. He was so sad. And I just remember being like so shook, like, holy shit, this is making my dad cry. My dad doesn't cry about anything, So that like shook me to my core. And then I think at first, like everybody else, or like most people, I just believed the narrative. And I didn't really kind of wake up to 9/11 until like 2014 and 2015. Before Trump was president, I woke up to it. But I'd always heard 9/11 is an inside job, and I kind of watched some, clips of stuff. But I think it was 2015, right before Trump got elected, I just watched Loose Change like 10 times in a row. And I've never been the same ever since.
Yeah, that's probably when like I kind of took it for granted. I mean, I was in bed. I remember when I woke up and I was lying in bed, and there was the same thing. It was like my alarm clock was the radio. So they were talking about the one plane hitting the tower, and then they mentioned the other plane hitting the tower, and then the whole like temperature changed, right? Then they start talking about its attack. And I remember going in and waking up my roommate at the time. We were both like 18 or 19, just fresh into our first mobile home. And, waking up and saying we're going to war and this and that. I mean, we're Canadian. It didn't even really affect us that much. But I mean, I'd say probably around the same time. We were probably about 2014. We had already started the show. And at that time, we weren't going to do a bunch of conspiracy stuff. We were going to try and keep it the paranormal, but we kind of got bored with that fairly quickly and started branching out. And lo and behold, we start looking into 9/11. And it was the same thing. It was like Loose Change. You know what it was for me? I think was the real good one was the Colbert.
Which was the Colbert? Stephen Colbert?
Not
yeah,
Stephen.
I know exactly. That is
Corbett. The Corbett.
Oh yeah, Corbett report. Yes. He made a good. He made like a 20-minute video about it, though, right? I mean, his was much shorter.
5-minute one. And
5-minute one. Yeah. I saw the Corbett report. He's great. Corbett report is good.
Yeah. So between that and Loose Change, and then we had, then we went down the whole thing. We started having the architects for 9/11 guy on, and all these 9/11 people on, and now, and it seems to me like nowadays, a lot of the younger people just take that sort of for granted as
they don't give a shit, Darren. What I mean, that's what's so sad, because they didn't experience. So why would they even give a shit? And you know what's so sick about 9/11, and not even to cut you off, but it actually brought America together, and then everybody kind of rallied around America. New York City became the #1 tourist site for like 4 or 5 years in a row. So the economy boomed there. We went to the war in Iraq, which in the Middle East, pumped up the military industrial complex. The economy was like pretty good. So in a way, you could argue that it helped the world. I think it's the worst thing ever, doing a false flag attack on your own country and conspiring with other countries. But at the same time,
the Patriot Act is the worst part of it.
And they had the PNAC, Project for a New American Century, already written, and they had Joe Biden was a co-signer on it. It was a bipartisan, agenda, whatever you want to call it. I don't even know, a plan. And then what really also woke me up was like, you hear Joe Rogan, and, people say whatever you want about Joe Rogan. He did open me up to a lot of conspiracies. All of a sudden, like, I hear about Operation Northwoods, and you're like, what the hell, Operation Northwoods? This is at the same time I'm like watching, all the conspiracy Loose Change stuff. And you see that they had a plan during, whatever, the Cuban Missile Crisis to actually hijack a plane, make it seem like it was a 737, and fly it into a building in order to start a war with Cuba, make it look like Cuban rebels did it. And so if they already had the CIA plan, and then shortly thereafter this plan was pitched to JFK, he died, which is, very weird coincidence. And so they just reuse this plan. They always probably wanted to crash a plane. I think they're going to do another crash here pretty soon. And I fly all the time, and I'm scared to death. I used to be less scared to fly, and now I am really freaking scared. Not just because of pilot error, but there's a thing where these planes, and this is why I like to actually fly Frontier and Spirit more, because they have Airbus fleets, and Airbuses are what they call fly-by-wire, where they just find a route, if they see weather, everybody's a pinpoint, and they literally type it into a computer, and the computer basically does all the flying on these new planes. It's called fly-by-wire. I didn't even realize this until I started talking to these pilots. But Boeing, they have similar technology. Theirs are supposedly not as easy. Like the AI on the Airbuses are better than Boeing. And that's why Southwest, they bought all these Boeing MAX planes that are crashing, that are having issues, that are like going too low when they land. And the reason why they wanted to stick with Boeing is because they have a strictly Boeing fleet, and their pilots are all trained on Boeing. So it's easier to go from a Boeing 737 to a 737 MAX, because it's just, these are the new features, yada, yada, yada. And Boeing can't even make a plane that won't crash or won't have issues. They want a plane to crash because they want people to be scared to fly. And I hate to say it, but I believe it, because every time I'm on it, I'm like, is this going to be the one that goes down and everybody talks about? Because I don't want this to happen. I'm not manifesting this. And by me saying this, it probably manifests it. They're going to crash a plane, and it's going to happen. Because, it just happens, but it's going to happen. I just can feel it with all this Boeing whistleblower stuff. It scares me to death. I hate it.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's pretty crazy. It's like, I don't know. We talk about it all the time, incompetence or design, but some of the stuff just seems like Darren uses the airport and the airlines as a good example, as a microcosm of what's going on in society, and it's falling apart. It's falling apart pretty quick.
It is. And, it's funny because like I said, by that fly-by-wire, now these pilots really don't have to do that much. It's better to have a seasoned pilot. So I'm not even worried that my pilot's black. Now I don't want a transgender pilot, but and I've been on planes with this female pilots. I'm like, oh shit, is this going to crash? But it's not even them. I think it's going to be the damn software in the computer. I think it's just going to be out of their control. And it is going to be an accident, but it's going to be some bullshit thing that oopsie poopsie. It's like these two Boeing planes that crashed. They supposedly made a deal with the FAA to pay the victims' families. Now the victim families have hired attorneys because they don't want to agree to this settlement, right? Because it's not that much. So really, they can crash a plane, they pay the family some money, and then go on about their business. And who knows? Maybe it's like the Tower 7 and the Twin Towers. Maybe they get an insurance settlement. I don't know if you get paid a lot when a plane crashes, but I imagine if a car has insurance, a plane probably has insurance. So I don't know. It's just a scary thing flying this day and age for whatever reason.
We have people that don't want to come to some of our events because they don't want to get on the planes.
And I fly every weekend, and I get on it every time. And I still hate it.
Especially when you fly that much too, because it's right front and center for you. I don't fly very much anymore. I used to. Back in the late 90s, it was, man, right before 9/11, it was amazing. You go to the airport 20 minutes before, kind of just started the electronic kind of check-ins and stuff, and it got real easy. And then shortly after that, it became a real pain in the ass. But so what's it like last couple of years, man? Darren was on your show. Darren must have been a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Darren was on your show, and we were
I said I was going to go on you. Yeah. And we just never did it. Yeah.
But man, since then you have just you've just accelerated. You've become super famous.
That's not
we've
true.
Seen
That's very nice,
we've seen your viral videos. What's the journey been like over the last couple of years? You got your own show on Blaze now. It's congratulations.
That is good. That is
Tucker Carlson. That's amazing.
It is insane. It is insane, but I'm not trying to be humble. But I did blow up kind of when I started creating content. I got lucky that I kind of blew up in a couple of years from just doing these viral videos, going to these city councils. But I worked in reality TV since I was graduated college, and literally worked as an extra and all this stuff. That's what I liked. I wanted to be in television and production.
Weren't you in the last episode of The Office?
Yes, I was in Michael Scott's last episode, and that
Yeah.
was like one of the first years I moved to LA. So, I was just like a bum. Then I got some production assistant jobs, and then I got a job working for Cheaters, which is a reality TV show. And I have to say, it's all above board because I signed an NDA, but you guys can figure out what I mean by that, probably. But I'll just say the show's not scripted. And I worked for the show, and I was a production assistant and moved up to where I was one of the producers. And then I became very good friends with this guy, Clark Gable, whose grandfather is Clark Gable from Gone with the Wind. And Clark was like crazy, but crazy in a fun way. He was like, him and I became very close friends. And he had like a dock in a box. He lived in California. He dated Paris Hilton when he was young. This is kind of how like Hollywood he is. And he got in some accident, got some pain pills from a doctor in California. And he had been in Dallas for a year, and just for whatever reason, he needed to go see the doctor in person to get a refill. So he wasn't able to go to California for like a couple months for filming the show. It was actually the end of the show. It was actually we finished the last episode, and he just hadn't gone back to California yet. So he went and bought some pain pills like on the street. And when I say he took pain pills, like the guy had a tolerance. He was not an amateur. Like he was Clark Gable. His grandfather was a horrible alcoholic, and his dad, Clark Gable's son, you can imagine, was the same thing because he was like the son of a multimillionaire. And this is like during like the 60s, like the golden era of Hollywood or whatever you want to call it. It almost sounds fake. But Clark was a party animal, got these pills off the street. They were like either Vicodin or Percocet or whatever, and they had fentanyl in it. And I get a call from his fiance one morning, and she says, Clark is dead. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, he took some pills. She knew immediately because he wasn't even drinking. And that's what's so crazy is that he died not even partying because he partied so hard. I always kind of thought Clark was going to get in like a DUI accident. He would drive drunk. He was that type of guy. He wouldn't drive drunk all the time, but it wouldn't be a big deal. If he had to drive drunk, he wouldn't mind doing it. He was just, that type of guy. It wasn't like he was always just drunk driving. That sounds bad, but that's how I thought. I thought if he had got a call, Clark smashed into the guardrail and was smoking a cigarette, I would be like, well, that, it's terrible, but that seems like a plausible thing. But when I heard he had died of an opioid overdose, I was like, fuck no, he could probably inject heroin, and that's why I was so naive to how strong fentanyl really is. And that's why it's killing so many people. And there's a huge conspiracy with that. All the fentanyl that's here in America is made in China, and they can legally make it like how we can have Delta 8. In China, they can have fentanyl 8. It's not called that, but what makes Delta 8 legal here in America or in Texas, like where weed's not legal, it's because they add some molecule to it. And however the drug laws are, THC is legal, but not THC plus B or whatever the hell, however they subvert it. They do that same thing in China where the Chinese government won't shut them down. And the Chinese government, it's kind of like a wink and a nod type deal. Like, we know you're making the bootleg stuff. Kind of like how the cops here know that this Delta 8 stuff does get you high. I mean, it's not good high. I do not suggest anybody really. I don't know if you guys have ever tried. Have you guys ever tried like Delta 8 or synthetic marijuana?
No.
It's not good. Do not take it. It's like it's actual poison. Like there's people that smoke weed and there's some medicinal stuff. I'm not anti-weed, but I am anti-Delta 8. I joke about it a lot, but it's like it'll get you paranoid. I took it almost as a joke. My buddy's like, it does mess you up. I'm like, yeah, right. I ate a bunch of gummies and felt like I was not even paranoid, just like I was sick and ill. But I did feel high, but I also felt ill at the same time. And I forget why I'm on that diatribe of Delta 8, but it is bad.
Because how I think about Gable and how you ended up probably leaving Hollywood or something.
That's what I'm saying.
It's kind of like.
So he gets on the he dies of the fentanyl, and I was supposed to be the host of Cheaters. There's the guy that owns it. He's like, Alex, you're going to be the host.
Oh, holy shit.
And I get in great shape. And this is right when the pandemic's popping off. And this is, I guess, March of 2019. Yeah, it was 2019,
2020,
right? Yeah.
2020, March of 2020, yeah.
Did it start March of 2020? Okay, yeah, March of 2020. That's like, we already kind of knew in January about like Wuhan and or whatever, China. We're like, this isn't going to come over here. I kept thinking like, it's not. Well, that happens. And then the show's like, well, we're going to film again. But the show's distributed by Viacom. They play it on CMT, which Viacom owns CMT, VH1, and MTV. And they own a bunch of other crap too, but those are like one of the three main channels. Well, the demographic that watches Cheaters, there's a lot of African-American people. So they're like, let's have a black host. The show's never had a black host, which is fine. I don't blame the host. This guy, Peter Guns, and he's actually kind of used to be a popular rapper. You guys have heard his song. I can't think what it's called, but just look it up, Peter Guns. And he gets hired and they say, Alex, we still want you to be a producer on the show. And I'm like, Yeah, I'm not gonna. And the reason why I bring up Peter Guns' name is because they made him change it to Peter Panky because they didn't want to glamorize gun violence. So that's how I knew it was like some sort of weird DEI, politically correct hire, which is fine. Like I said, I don't fault him at all for taking the job. But one of the camera guys there, and he produced some episodes and stuff. He was higher up. He was like the head camera op, and he did produce shows. He's like, Alex, you need to just come to my house. I got the mics, I got the camera, just record a podcast. And I was like, I want to talk about conspiracies because I always talked about conspiracies. We'd sit in the van and I'd be like talking about the moon landing and stuff like that. Because I was full blown. I became, like 2013, 2014, I started, Pizzagate, 9/11. I was like, when you kind of really first get into that stuff, you're kind of like want to tell your friends about it because you feel like you know some secret. And I got into conspiracies. I started my Conspiracy Castle channel, and then in about 3 years, I got a podcast at the Blaze. It's kind of incredible how it all happened.
Well, dude, you can't, you're talented, super talented. I mean, don't be too humble and call it all luck. I mean, you're out there doing the work. I mean, you were the one doing the work. People are scared shitless to do what you do, dude. And you go out there and just make it happen in front of a bunch of people and record it. I mean, that's not only talent but guts.
Was the first one so it was the city council stuff? That was the stuff that really started blowing you up, eh?
Yes. So we got to talk about it. There's kind of different levels. Like, so I do the city council, and I had gone to probably like 10 or 15 city councils before I had one that just really popped off. It just went super viral where I did Dr. Fauci give me that ouchie, and I'm dressed in medical scrubs, and I'm like, get vaccinated, because all these people on the left share it. They're like, this is real, and all the people on the right were like, fuck this guy, like this is the problem. And it just kind of was Andy Kaufman-esque. Nobody knew who I was, and it just went viral. And then kind of shortly thereafter, I did this song where I go insane for Ukraine, put a bullet in Putin's brain, because it said on YouTube that I got the idea from YouTube. They said, you can't call to kill anybody, but you can call for the assassination of Vladimir Putin. And I thought that was so weird. That was right when the Ukraine war broke out. I'm like, you can really do that? So I was like, I'm just make a video saying I want to kill Vladimir Putin and see if it's okay. And it's not only okay, dude, it crushed. And so I got some heat from that. But what kind of brought me to the next thing that got me, I guess, I'm not, like I said, I'm internet famous. I'm not actually famous. Like I walk into a room, sometimes I get recognized in an airport. I'm not, people like, everybody that, the grass is always greener on the other side. People look at me like, oh, you're doing so well. It's not, I'm not doing bad, but I'm not doing so well. I mean, I'm just kind of like you. We're not really that far off. Like, I guess my point is people are like, oh, Alex, you made it. Not even close is what I'm saying. And, but what changed me is I started going to protests, and I started going to like transgender rallies, and I started getting beat up by transgender people, and I started getting spit on. And that stuff went really viral too. And they're kind of like, oh, this is a city council guy. And then he goes to these protests too. And those two things are what kind of like made me well known, because that's when I started. This is the difference. I got a lot of interviews and stuff. People wanted to hear about the Fauci ouchie thing because that is me like creating news, right? Because people like talk about it. I'm the one doing it. But when I went to the protest, like that, people really wanted to cover that news. That's just more interesting news. So I would just start. I noticed when I go to the protest, the clips would do well. I'd get not 100, but a bunch of people would be like, oh, I want to interview. So that is what I guess made me a different level of popularity. It was a big difference. But now, like my Instagram and stuff used to be popping. My Instagram, they got it, and people always say shadow ban. Something's messed up with my Instagram.
Oh, yeah, they got it dialed down, and
they got my. I'm just happy I still get to keep it. My Twitter still does okay, but my YouTube is like not doing as well. And I have clips that get hundreds of thousands of views sometimes, but most of the clips are like 10,000. Like, it's just hard now that I'm known. I feel like there's even more of a target on me. So I don't know. People think, oh, you're doing so well. It's like, no, dude, I'm still fighting every day.
That's
like,
interesting.
Yeah. I mean,
that is really interesting. It's good to hear that. I mean, well, in some ways, I mean, I guess it's not too, but I know what you mean about our Instagram's just been sort of the whole time. It won't really, do anything, and I feel like, man, we're feeling it too. You got to fight for every kind of little bit. Not that we want to go viral or anything like that.
Yeah,
we just
and
want
that's
to
just
be able. We just want to be able to do it, right?
I don't even want to be Joe Rogan. I mean, I don't want to be as big as Tucker. I'll be totally happy just kind of being known. But it's like, dude, there's so much content. I'm not even hating on because I watch some of it, like some of the stupidest content, like some of this gambling content that I think is interesting, but that is always gets pumped up. Just the most degenerate, and not that I'm not even degenerate in some of the stuff I'm doing. So just saying, just some of the crap I see, some of these cooking videos I see, and I'm like, how does this person have 1 billion followers? How is this guy getting this much? And
the
it's
hotel room cooking video.
Yeah, and I like that guy. I love Barfly, and he works his ass off, but he gets like 1 billion views. Literally, like every video is multi-million because most people saying, fuck this guy, he's so disgusting. But Barfly, and he might, I don't think you get mad about this. In the video, he's always like messing up the like pillowcases or like, the napkins, but he carries around this big suitcase and he goes to Walmart and he buys those same shitty, washcloths, and he has a bunch of pillowcases. He's like, yeah, I don't really fuck up the hotel pillowcases. I just bring these in. People think it's the fucking hotel pillow. He's like, I'm not, like, literally, he brings in a lot of the stuff so he doesn't mess up the hotel. He's like, yeah, I'll use a hotel trash can. No, nobody cares if that's messed up, but he does that so the hotel doesn't. And he got banned from Delta Airlines for him cooking instant mashed potatoes and shrimp. And what people are like, oh, that's such a big deal. It was a real video, but to instant mashed potatoes, you can add cold water. They still become mashed potatoes. And then shrimp, they were pre-cooked shrimp, so he just had to de-thaw them. So he really didn't cook anything. It looks like he cooked something, but that's one of his most viral videos, and I just laugh at that because he like brought a battery and acted like he was sous videing in the bathroom, which is so funny. That's why he is genius. I'm not hating on his genius. He is genius, but in a way, the food was already cooked. It's like he almost had an MRE, but he got banned from Delta for that. But I see Barfly. He gets to do those videos, and I got to go get spit on by a tranny that might or might not have venereal disease. It's just a little. So
he was he in the plane washroom doing that? Is that why? Okay. And he's doing it in the plane.
In the plane. You hadn't seen this video? Let me pull.
I saw the hotel one.
No, but you never seen his plane video. Here, I'll pull it up right now. It is insane. And it's really not even that crazy of a video. I mean, it is. He got him banned from Delta. Let me see. Barfly.
I know the gambling guy. Are you talking about the blackjack guy?
Well, I watch a bunch of gambling content. I'm not even hating on him, but it's just those guys get pushed like crazy by the algorithm.
I get pushed by the algorithm too. Pushed down.
This guy.
Yeah, that's what's so weird. All those things get to go viral and.
It is insane. I'm trying to find it. People always rip off his content. So he doesn't even have like a lot of YouTube. Here, let me go to Instagram.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm not even hating. I want everybody to have internet success. And I think there's enough people where we can just be, you don't need 1 billion fans. You just need, you need like 500 to 1,000 fans that actually like you. Yeah. And I think that's really all you need. And then, sometimes you randomly get some pops. You maybe get some notoriety because of this and that. But, I just see other people, some of these streamers and stuff. It's insane.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that because I feel like, I just browsed your shows on Blaze and I watched a couple, and I feel like you're tapping into that a little bit, that sort of mainstream YouTube virality type crowd, and then you're introducing them to conspiracies. Like because of your fame, you have access to these people that may not like normally go on a show like yours. I'm just solely speculating here. Mm-hmm. But then at the end, you're like, hey, by the way, like, what about 9/11? What about this? Not and if I feel like most of these people are open to the stuff that you talk about, but but they come from more of like a different genre.
Well, like a perfect example, you're right, because I had Vivek on and I asked Vivek if 9/11 was an inside job, and he's like, and it went like CNN, everybody played it because he said, yeah, they haven't told us about the 28 pages redacted in the 9/11 Commission report, which is like such a based and honest answer.
Yeah.
And it went viral. So like CNN played it, they all called him a 9/11 truther and smeared him and kind of got him in a little bit of trouble. But you're right. Like I try to get, I guess, people that are maybe kind of, internet famous, and then ask them these crazy things about 9/11, the moon landing, flat earth, all this crazy stuff. And you are right. More people are receptive than not receptive.
Interesting. it just shows you where we're at with conspiracies. I mean, it's weird being in this thing for 10, 11 years since 2014, when now like everybody's talking about conspiracies. It's super weird.
Everybody, and now with the internet, it's hard to kind of deny this stuff.
But, you know, men too. Some of them are a little crazy.
All of them are bullshit. I mean, not all of them, but I mean, there's just so much bullshit. It's hard to tell what's real and fake. And there's so much stuff that I believed and didn't believe. And, you know, my mind's constantly changing. But like, I think Pizzagate, you know, it was, you know, John Podesta really trafficking children with, you know, a pizza parlor in Washington, D.C. Like, I do believe there's a lot of credibility to Pizzagate. Obviously, the guy, James Alefantis, that owned it, he had a weird ass Instagram with all these weird babies doing just bizarre stuff, money and like code words that are on the FBI list of, you know, pedo slang words.
All the emails, all the official emails, and plus the way they responded to it and set up that whole, like the shooter and then all that, like demonize. When they go that hard against something, you know, just like what was the thing they were going hard against other in Canada? I was thinking about this today. They go so hard against, it was autism, the autism. They go so hard against vaccines doing autism. You're like, it's the opposite. It's the opposite. They're way too passionate about trying to push their science and that this is a conspiracy theory, that it just really makes me think it's the opposite.
Graham, you're actually right, because I'm a very, you know, I watched Del Bigtree's documentary Vax, and if you do give the MMR vaccine later on in life, that there is less occurrence of autism, but the rate of autism that we're having is not just from vaccines, though. You know, if they do the study, it's a lot of older men having kids, and men's semen can be corrupt because all of our testicles are full of microplastics. So our semen's different, and that's why it's not just vaccines. Yeah, vaccines have an effect because some people have allergic reactions, whatever, but it's not just vaccines. It's happening at such a rate so that also makes me realize is they're trying to hide that. They're like, oh, it's the vaccine, so every kid's, you know, mentally disabled. Because I have a friend.
Formula ain't helping either. You know what I mean? Like, we were going through the ingredients on the baby formula, and they're just fucking nuts.
In the water, like atrazine does turn frogs gay, and everybody's more gay. So they are putting stuff that's making us purposely unhealthy, and it's just how do you? Everybody wants to be like, you know, so woke, but it's almost, you can't stop to drink ice at a restaurant or ice here. Like, you know, everybody's like, just drink purified this. It's impossible to not be contaminated with these microtoxins or whatever you want to call it. So it's just weird that we live in that we're being poisoned.
I think
well, not only that, I mean, you talked about getting spit on by trannies, but I mean, dude, when me and you talked, that would have not even been on the radar, like, at all. Period. When we talked on your show like 3.5 years ago, that whole thing, it was maybe starting to percolate up a little bit, but definitely in like at the end of 2019, start of COVID, it's not, you know, it's not really there. So where did that come from, dude? And this isn't even like, it's like every store I go to now in my like little town, at the drugstore, there's like this big, huge 6'7" fucking dude dressed up like a chick with his nails done and his makeup's like immaculate. And it's just like it's everywhere. It's
dude, I was shook. Listen to this, Darren. And this is why I'm in a weird mood. I didn't even want to talk about this, but I mean, I will talk about it. It's not that big a deal. But I freaking 2 nights ago, last night, David Lucas does this thing called Roast Battle in Dallas. And I did, 7 minutes just warming up. And I did kind of like all transgender jokes about how I like, transgenders because, I'm sick of conservatives outlawing I'm sick of conservatives outlawing transgender in biological women's sports because we can gamble on them and win money. And I talk about how it turns it into draft kings and draft queens. And like, I have this whole bit about how much I like transgenders in women's sports. It always crushes in a conservative crowd. Tonight I did it. There was a transgender in the crowd and they got pissed, dude. and what was crazy is I kind of lost the crowd. I'm like, oh, whoa, are you transgender? And they're like, I am. And I was just like, and you know what I did? And this is how I lost the crowd. Like, I thought I was owning them. I go, do you pee in the boys' restroom or the girls' restroom? And they just look at me, they go, I'd pee on your face. And I'm like, you'd like that? I'm just saying, I lost the fucking crowd because I made a transgender joke that some people laugh, but then when they saw this transgender was actually offended, they all felt bad. And I'm saying I'm not the best comedian in the world, but I've never lost a crowd from not even that I was like dominating, but I've never seen such a hard shift to where I make a transgender joke in front of a trans and the trans gets mad. I've just never seen that happen. Usually my crowd, they love it. You know, I say a transgender joke, you know, people that bought a ticket to see me. I was just doing a guest spot. Nobody knew me in the crowd. And there's a transgender. I didn't even notice him. And I make this stupid biological transgender joke. And I started off with how I like transgenders in the military because there's, you know, and they're the best fighters because they do all the school shootings. I say that. I should have started. I should not. I started with that. And then I did the transgender sports. I was like, and I just never went from, not that I was a hero, but okay to zero, you know. Not a hero, but hero to zero, like that. And I never seen the crowd shift, and that kind of made me worried. I'm like, damn, all these people. Oh, when I say all these people, it was a small room, like 40 people, but everybody got on the trans person's side immediately as soon as they felt offended.
As soon as they knew he was angry.
Yes,
it triggered some shame complex.
I don't know what it was because there was conservatives in the crowd that were laughing at it, but they even stopped laughing. Like they stopped laughing. Yeah. I was like, oh, well, you know, and then I did like one or two jokes and like they didn't laugh at all. Just nobody wanted to laugh. And I was like, all right, well, that's my time. But I've just never seen such a hard like record start. And it was crazy. I learned a lot. I was shook. I kind of left the crowd like not like sad or anything, but I was kind of like, how did I lose them that fast? And then I realized like I made fun of a trans. Even the club, the guy that runs the club, he's like, Alex, as soon as you engage with it, he's like, you should have just ignored the transgender. You would have been fine. But as soon as I engaged the trans and gave the trans, because there's other people that didn't even realize there's a transgender on that side of the room. The club owner goes, as soon as you like, the trans got mad and then you played into it, it was the worst thing ever. And I guess I learned a big lesson, but the real lesson I learned is how everybody will just automatically go from liking you to hating you because they think you offended somebody. It was weird. It was wild.
Very strange.
Yeah. Well, so do you have any, I mean, is this what you sort of noticed too, that this is sort of coming up out of nowhere? I mean,
oh, dude,
is this because of the autism? Is this
partially? It's funny. You know, they've done those studies where a lot, like 80% of people that identify as transgender has autism. So the autism is a big part of it, but also it's like, not only is it the weird people, you know, that might do it for attention, but now these athletes like are doing it so they can become better in sports, like Leah Thomas. So there's going to be more people doing it because they just want to cheat at sports. So that would have never happened. That was like a joke. We watched a movie like Joanna Man, you know, and we never actually thought a guy was going to put on a dress and go out. Like South Park made episodes about it, but that's where we're at, where people that were born a boy can transition and now compete at the NCAA level, at the Olympic level. We've gone a little far when it comes, you know, all the way to that point.
Well, and the kids too. Yeah. I mean,
the kids, every kid, they want every kid trans. They want every kid trans. They're teaching sex ed at like second grade, and they don't just teach you heterosexual sex. They like teach you anal sex and how to masturbate, which is disgusting. But that is actually happening. That's not a conspiracy. They're doing drag queen story time. It's weird because that's when I talk about protests. I would go to the drag queen story times and I would cuss them out. And Tucker had me on right after that. That was like the one where I went to a drag queen story time and, you know, cuss out a bunch of the drag queens, and that went viral. But when you go to those events, you notice a lot of parents taking their kids there, and it's like single moms. You know, you didn't see a lot of two parents, but you see like their uncle or aunt with them. And that was weird because I don't think any of the kids are like, I want to go to the drag queen story time. You know, it's all the parents. So you have these like Munchausen by proxy parents that want their kids to be sick or be gay. Like, how does these Hollywood celebrities have two trans kids? Like Megan Fox's kids are both trans. The odds of that are statistically impossible.
Yeah, what's it? Charlize Theron has
three like kids. That is impossible. I mean, there's no way. They say nature versus nurture. I think it's obviously nurture. I mean, you can like, you know, nurture them into being a transgender so you can get clout in Hollywood, but that's just mathematically impossible.
I've seen this in my own life, man. When we were kids, there was this one lady who had these two boys, and you could always tell she wanted a girl but didn't get it. So she had these two boys, and they were like very
effeminate.
Yeah, very feminized. They were chickified. And we like when we were kids, we were already calling it. And you know, sure enough, they both ended up gay. And it's like
they both were gay. And they were different ages.
Yeah.
I'm just saying they weren't like twins or something. They're
like 3-4 years apart.
I mean, that is right. You don't have a dad to give you. I mean, I don't know. Give you any advice on like I mean, and maybe like, I don't know. I don't even know why that happens where a mom has 2 gay kids. You would think that maybe one of them is gay, but now we're at that rate. I don't know how many people identify as gay, but when they do this, surveys at schools, I bet it's almost like 50%, 40%, something egregious probably right now.
At least in the alphabet group anyways.
Yeah, some
maybe
sort
not,
of weird.
maybe not gay, but pansexual or, all the other ones.
And everybody's on OnlyFans now. We've all been desensitized by porn. And like, I'm not even hating on a woman's right to kind of go make money. I kind of like free speech, but it's just these girls are ruining their lives for $5,000. Some people are making hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions. But I think that's the rare occasion. Or even if they're making a lot of money, it just kind of ruins your future relationship. So it's just, it sucks. It kind of sucks that we're all so over-sexualized. And I'm not even anti-sex. I like to have sex. I'm a sexual person, but it's just we've over-sexualized the world, and that's one of our biggest issues.
Well, there's a big issue happening in dating apparently too, where like apparently 80% of the women will choose 20% of the guys. Like there's a real like disparate, like the women will only choose a small percentage of the guys. And whereas the guys will choose like a way larger percentage of the women. So it's leaving a whole bunch of guys, like 80% of the guys out or something.
It's like idiocracy. That's why we have so many like Venezuelan immigrants or anything, because like, the well-to-do girls have college educations and stuff. They're, super picky. And the only people that are having babies are like Guatemalan people that, don't give a damn. And it is true though, that online dating is a nightmare. It's the most superficial thing ever. And that's how people are meeting each other. So I don't know. I have a lot of sympathy for modern day daters.
Yeah. So have you?
I think that because that's got to be based on online dating, right? Based off like dating profiles and stuff like that. Because I feel like an ugly dude can still,
Yeah, with enough confidence, there's enough whores out here to get laid.